Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another week of online learning. This week, we're going to be talking about physical development and intellectual development of children ages 1 to 3. The last couple weeks, we've been talking about physical, intellectual, and social emotional development of infants. So now we're moving on to 1 to 3, and then we will move on to 4 to 6. So, for physical development, most of the physical development happens in infancy because babies grow so much. They put on so much weight, they turn into more of a toddler, and so you see a lot of that physical development. You see them growing a lot. But after the first year, it slows down, and instead of physical development, they start to improve physical skills. So your fine motor and your gross motor skills. So now they're having a lot of time for active play and they're using their muscles to expel their energy. Most children are starting to walk around the age of 1, and the term toddler refers to children who use uncertain movement. It's called toddling. They're not walking properly, they're just kind of toddling around, and that's where toddler comes from because it's kids ages 1 to 3. So, this is your growth in height and weight and your ages. So toddlers gain about half a pound per month, which is less than half the monthly weight gain in infancy. So there's a lot less physical development. So when you're 1 year old, you should be about 29.8 inches and 22.5 pounds. 2 years, you're 34 inches and 27.7 pounds. In 3 years, you're 37.7 inches and 32.4 pounds. So you're only growing about 8 inches in 2 years, and you're only gaining about 10 pounds. So it's not a whole lot of development because in infancy, you gain about 15 pounds, and you're usually born at about 18 inches, so you gain about 10 inches. So in 1 year, you gain as much as you do in 2 years as a toddler. So from the ages of 1 to 3, toddlers get all their teeth. In year 1, they get 8 teeth. In year 2, they get another 8 teeth. And in year 3, they get the last 4 big teeth. So we talked about how physical skills are what develop more in children when they're toddlers. So that's your motor skills. So it follows 3 development patterns: head to foot, near to far, and simple to complex. So an example is like hand skills, using blocks. It's simple to complex because in the beginning, a kid might be trying to fit certain shaped blocks into certain shaped holes. And in the beginning, they might just pick up a block and try every single hole until it fits in one. But as their skills develop and they get older, a 3-year-old should be able to look at the circle-shaped block and put it in the circle-shaped hole, or look at the triangle-shaped block and put it in the triangle-shaped hole. So it develops from a simple skill to a complex skill. So there's 2 different types of motor skills. There's gross motor skills and fine motor skills. Gross motor skills involve and use control of the large muscles in our body. So our back, legs, shoulders, and arms. So these are our big movements like walking, running, throwing balls. Our fine motor skills are our finer muscles. So like muscles in our wrists, our fingers, and our ankles. So when we draw, or when we color, or when we paint, or when we turn pages, or when we eat, or when we pick something up, and it requires hand-eye coordination. So here is the average gross motor skill development. So from ages 1 to 1.5, you're going to improve your walking from unsteady steps to walking well, slide downstairs backwards 1 step at a time, and stoop to pick up toys. From ages 1.5 to 2, they run fairly well, stand on 1 foot, learn to walk up and down stairs while holding on with both feet on each step, and throw objects overhand. From 2 to 2.5, you walk with more coordination and confidence, climb in even and unsafe places, jumps off the bottom step, pushes self-on-wheeled toys. 2.5 to 3, run but may not be able to stop smoothly, alternates feet going upstairs but not going down, so still going to be 2 feet when they're going downstairs. Throws a ball overhand but inaccurately kicks balls. Inaccurately throws a hand, and then they also can kick balls. From ages 3 to 4, jump up and down in place, walk on tiptoes, ride a tricycle, and catch a ball with their arms straight. So all of these large motor skills are developed. And when you're in school, phys ed is what hones our gross motor skills. That's all about sports or all about gross motor skills. So if you think phys ed's just for exercise, it's also about your physical skills. Now here's your average fine motor skills. Now these images from the child studies textbook say large motor skills and small motor skills, which is fine, but the educational term is typically gross motor skills and fine motor skills. So from ages 1 to 1.5, they can turn several pages of a book at a time, pick up small objects with a thumb and forefinger, and they can scribble. From ages 1.5 to 2, they can button large buttons, pull down zippers, turn doorknob, stack several blocks on a tower. From 2 to 2.5, they can turn one page of a book at a time, string large beads, build towers of about 6 blocks. From 2.5 to 3, they can build towers of about 8 blocks, draw horizontal and vertical lines and circles, screw lids on and off of containers. Ages 3 to 4, build towers of about 9 or 10 blocks, make a bridge from 3 blocks, cuts with scissors, draws recognizable pictures, and uses fork with spoon and little spilling. Now, ages 3 to 4 is kind of young to be able to cut with scissors. I know it says that, but that's a skill a lot of kids definitely don't master until they're in kindergarten. You get a lot of kids coming to kindergarten not knowing how to even hold a pair of scissors. That also comes from parenting, and if parents have introduced that skill as well. So if you introduce that skill at the age of 3 to 4, they could learn it, but a lot of times in kindergarten you do not see kids who are able to properly cut with scissors. So I find it interesting that that's there. Intellectual development. Intelligence is the ability to interpret or understand everyday situations that use experiences when faced with new situations or problems. So intelligence, like we learned before, is shaped by our heredity and our environment. So everything, our genes were programmed one way, we're predispositioned to act a certain way, and then our environment, our senses and our experiences help to add on to that heredity that we have, add on to our intellectual development. So like we learned before, we learn through our everyday experiences and through play. Playing isn't just to keep kids occupied. It's literally how they learn everything. It's a vital part of learning. And there's 4 different methods of learning. There's incidental learning, trial and error learning, imitation, and directed learning. So incidental learning is unplanned learning. So if a boy or a toddler pushes both feet against the bottom of the crib, and then they learn that this motion moves their body forward, they see the cause and effect, so then they're going to start doing it. So they didn't necessarily know that that result would happen, but they experimented and they learned something new. So unplanned. Trial and error learning, when a child tries several situations before finding one that works. So it's like when you experiment. So maybe if you pull the cat's tail, you're going to learn that's not a good thing to do. So you tried it and you learned that that was a mistake. Or taking a toy from a sibling. Sometimes if you ask to share, then they will let you have it. But if you just take it, there's going to be some negative consequences to that. So you try something and you learn if it's a good idea or a bad idea. And then there's imitation, learning by watching and copying others, skills and attitudes, and it's often seen as annoying, especially siblings find it annoying, but little kids are just trying to learn. That's literally how everyone interacts socially and learns how to fit in, is through imitation. You do what other people do, even if you don't realize it. When you move to a new place, you're in an unfamiliar place and you want to fit in, you just imitate people. And so siblings usually get irritated, or older kids usually get irritated when younger children do it, but they're literally just trying to learn. And then there's directed learning. And this is when you're taught, either by parents or in school, when you learn sounds or letters or colors or body parts, and someone is telling you what it is, and you're being learned or taught that way. So, concept development is a huge part of intellectual development, and that's when we are able to organize information. So, your brain is taking in all this information and it's learning so many things, and it starts to be able to put it into categories. So, in the beginning, you might start learning about different colors, and then soon it's going to put all the colors into a category: blue and red and yellow and green. And it's going to know those are colors. And then it's going to learn shapes. And when you learn more shapes, it's going to know that those are all different shapes: circle, square, triangle. Same as for fruit. It's just going to categorize everything into different areas instead of just knowing banana, blue, square. When you know more, it puts them into its own category. And then kids also learn labels broadly. In the beginning, they learn mom as a woman, and then sometimes kids don't realize that every woman isn't named mom, because they call their mom, and then another woman is a mom. Or they also might not understand that whenever someone says she, referring to your mom, they don't understand it as mom, because they refer to their mom as mom, and hearing someone refer to her as she, or even their name, isn't familiar to the child yet. So, intellectual activity has 7 different areas. So there's attention, memory, perception, reasoning, imagination, creativity, and curiosity. So attention is that the 5 senses are always picking up information. We're always seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, lots of different things. In adults, we filter it out. If we're listening to a teacher talk, we might be filtering out the smell of something, or the sound of the heater, or the feel of our pencil in our hand. But babies can't do that. They have to learn to block out the things that aren't needed. So in the beginning, their brains are bombarded with all the different senses that they're picking up, and they need to start learning to block it out. And 1 to 3-year-olds have short attention spans, but as you get older, it grows longer. Then we have memory. Without memory, we can never learn. Memories are linked to strong emotional reactions, firmly imprinted in the brain. So if something had a huge emotional impact on you, you're going to remember it for a long time. As children, they remember similar experiences. So if a toddler was walking with their parent and they seen a big dog coming, running at them, barking, then they might get afraid, and then they remember that fear, and their brain associates it with being afraid of dogs. And so then they're afraid of dogs for a really long time until they meet a dog that's nice and help get over that fear. And then most of us don't have memories from when we're toddlers. I think my first memory, I'm maybe 4 years old, and I don't have very many memories from when I was younger. And as you get older, you start to remember more and more, so your brain kind of filters it out. So remember, like we talked about before, use it or lose it. So if you're not remembering things all the time, you might forget about it. Then there's perception. A newborn learns through perception, so through their senses, and then creating connections in the brain, like we talked about last week. So using descriptive observations can help a child understand and expand on. So if you're walking in town with a child and you see a blue shirt in a store window, and you say, wow, look, that blue shirt that's in the window, it's blue, just like your shoes. Do you see anything else that's blue? And if they can't, then you can go, oh, well, the sky's blue, and that car's blue. And so in the beginning, you have to start picking out things to show the kid, and then soon they'll be able to pick out those things on their own. And by the age of 2 or 3, they're going to start asking more questions about when you see those things. There's a lot of why questions in young kids, and a lot of times people don't want to answer them, or they think they're too busy for the whys, but you need to give the kid the recognition for asking that question and forming that question, and provide them with an answer. Even though sometimes we're busy and we feel like we don't have time for it, it really helps with their development to show them that we appreciate that question. So then there's reasoning. And that's the ability to solve problems and make decisions. So recognizing relationships and forming concepts. So recognizing your mom's your mom, your dad's your dad, and your grandma's your grandma. And then like with shapes, square matches with the square hole. Circle matches with the circle hole. And so problems are solved by asking questions. What's the problem? Do I already know something about it? What are the possible solutions? What is the best solution? Did I make the right choice? Even from a young age, we tend to think about these things, or these are also guided questions you can be asking a child when you're teaching them how to problem solve. Then we have an imagination, and it becomes apparent around age 2. So an active imagination enhances learning because it allows kids to, in their brain, try a bunch of new things or be different people. If they see characters on Sesame Street going to England, they kind of imagine themselves being there. And we even do it as adults. When you watch a TV show, the reason you like a TV show is because you get involved in it, and your imagination can sometimes almost place you into feeling the experiences of the show. And so it happens with the same things with kids. Then we have creativity. So you use your imagination in order to create something. They go hand in hand. And so creativity is something people can see, though, as where imagination, we can't see what people are imagining. Creativity is what happens from imagination. Like we can see a finger painting that came from an idea in our head. And sometimes, though, it can be things you can't see, like a creative daydream or dramatic play. But dramatic play, you could see like they plan out the storyline in their head and they could bring it to life. But these involve imagination and creativity at the same time, so they go hand in hand. And then curiosity. Curiosity fuels the brain development and learning. When you're curious about things, and little kids are always curious, they want to know why. And they want to try things, and they need the freedom to explore. And especially recently, parents have become helicopter parents and very scared of their kids having curiosity and almost shutting down that curiosity, and that has such a negative impact on children because they need to explore and try new things in order to learn. So this week you have 2 assignments. First one is intellectual development of children ages 1 to 3, and the second one is an ongoing project you're going to be working on, and it's a children activity book. So you're going to have a few weeks to work on it, and it's going to be due in a few weeks, and so you're going to take the information you've learned this week and in the next upcoming weeks to create an activity book. So that's everything. Make sure if you have any questions, you let me know, and I hope you have an amazing week.